This is the real sealed indictment. This is why they were saying shit was looking tricky. You know, Whack 100 and 600 was creating conspiracies that like Bricc Baby was snitching in New Jersey and like snitching in Atlanta. They said Bricc Baby was just like snitching all over the country. That's not really what happened. The reason that Bricc Baby's indictment is separate and was sealed is because he was wrapped in a whole different gun trafficking conspiracy shit like that. So let's see what this dude was talking.
I'm not talking about big. Listen, Adam. I'm finna walk off the floor. I'm not talking about no fucking murder.
Wait, I just want to hear. Let's hear what 600 says.
So you think that he's a federal informant?
I think he's definitely working.
Rap News Street Politics, the best hood channel on YouTube, and we back with that Rolling 60 indictment, about to go through all the other co-conspirators that went down along with Big U in Operation Drawdown. Now, for everybody that's seen our last, we touched on certain individuals that were all on the indictment together. But when the feds released this picture of everybody that was in custody in this operation, from the outside looking in, it looks like everybody went down for the same thing, and that's not the case. Multiple individuals that went down on the case were a part of that initial indictment with the RICO on it. But as we talked about, the Rolling 60s as a whole were already under investigation in 2020 before federal investigators really put their eyes on Big U. So there's multiple different indictments that went along with this situation. And this is why
He said Bricc Baby, Big Shitty, MPA Shitro, Shitty Montana. Yo, Shitty Montana is actually a good name. I ain't gonna lie. Big Baby Shitro.
Bricc Baby, who was mentioned on the wiretap in Big U's indictment, wasn't named as a defendant in that indictment because the feds had bigger plans for him and one of his homies. Now again, in Big U's indictment on the wiretaps, Bricc Baby was caught talking about a robbery and paying money to Big U. But a situation that we heard before that Whack 100 had brought up was a situation where Bricc Baby had caught a federal case with some firearms.
It's one thing to have a possession of a firearm. AKs are illegal in the state of California. They're not DA rejecting that. But what I'm telling you is it was never picked up by the state. The feds are holding it. He knew it. Only thing I'm doing is going over what he's saying.
So you think that he's a federal informant?
I think he's definitely working.
There was questions looming and allegations circling regarding his cooperation and why he never had a court date or really had to answer for them firearm charges. This is why he's in custody now. So this incident with Bricc Baby stems back all the way to 2022 on July 12th. And we see the indictment alleging that he was a felon in possession of firearms and ammunition. So Bricc Baby, real name Zaire Mitchell, also goes by Big Shitty, MPA Shitro, Shitty Montana, or Bricc Baby Shitro, as he was introduced when he hit the rap scene over 10 years ago. But the indictment is alleging that on July 12, 2022, he was in possession of a 9mm Luger. And it's alleged that he was shooting a gun in a business parking lot somewhere in LA County. Now, federal investigators allege that this affected interstate and foreign commerce. So to break down how they tie that together, when you're a felon in possession of a weapon, we already know the feds are getting involved. The reason being is because they use the manufacturing location of that weapon against you. So say in this case, Bricc Baby is in LA County in possession of a weapon. Strike one is being a felon in possession of a weapon. But if that gun is manufactured and or purchased in a different state, they're basically gonna charge you with moving that gun over state lines, therefore affecting interstate commerce.
Damn, what the hell? I did not know that. Just because your gun was made in a different state, it could become a federal charge. Like a regular gun charge could become a federal charge just because your gun, you bought the gun and the gun was originally from a different state. That's wild.
Or foreign commerce if the weapon was produced in another country. Like I said, the feds are playing a different game. This is how we see somebody that's already a felon go down for a gun case, go to state prison, and on the back end of his state prison sentence, the feds pick the case up and then they go serve time in the feds as well. By the time the feds do their homework on where that weapon came from compared to where you got caught with the weapon, they let you do that state time and then bring you to do their time. Now, Bricc Baby, his prior convictions of reckless evading in 2010, possession of a controlled substance in 2012, 2 counts of possession of controlled substances, 1 in 2012, 1 in 2014, criminal threats in 2016, and a robbery in 2020. This is what made him guilty in possession of these weapons. Now again, that's count 1 on his indictment. Count 2 are the weapons themselves. Knowingly possessing firearms and ammunition, again, each affecting interstate and/or foreign commerce. This is where they allege that on June 23rd, 2023, a year after the shooting that he did in a parking lot, he was caught in possession of 3 weapons, a .380, a 9, and a Hell Pup 5.56. So Bricc Baby had that shit on him. But not only are they gonna charge him with the weapons, they're gonna charge him with the 133 rounds of ammunition that he also carried along with the guns.
He had 3 different types of ammunition for the same gun. He had 32 rounds of Lake City 5.56 caliber, 32 rounds of Remington Peters for 5.56, 36 rounds of Horn 80 5.56 caliber. Okay.
But the key thing that's going on with Bricc Baby right now is that they're linking him with another co-defendant that went down on Operation Drawdown, Christian Forbes, aka Bus, another member from Rolling 60s. So the reason that Bricc Baby and Bus are merging together is because the feds allege that the cases rise out of the same conspiracy, common scheme, transaction, or series of transactions and events. And they stated that both cases charge firearm offenses arising from the same investigation into the neighborhood Rolling 60s, which both of these defendants are from. And it said that both indictments rely on evidence that ultimately led to a Title III wiretap in a separate case on several Rolling 60 telephones.
Additional explanation: both cases charge firearm offenses arriving from the same investigation into the Rolling 60. Okay.
Including Zaire Mitchell, Bricc Baby. And they stated that the FBI plans to arrest both defendants on the same date as part of the Rolling 60s takedown, and the common discovery will be produced in the cases. And this is what leads us to Christian Forbes, who seemingly is the big fish when it comes to the weapons in this indictment, because the feds are alleging that he engaged in the business of dealing firearms without a license. So they're linking Bus's firearm transportations with Bricc Baby's firearm acquisitions. And this is how they prove the interstate and foreign commerce is being played with. They have the man that's bringing the weapons from wherever, out of state, and they have Bricc Baby receiving weapons. But it said in terms of Bus, beginning on or before.
But the question is, how do they know that the weapons that Bricc Baby had came from this dude, Bus? What evidence do they have saying that these weapons that Bricc Baby has in his possession for sure came from Chris Forbes? Like, how do they know that?
Or January 5th, 2022, and rolling to March 23rd, 2022, who was not licensed as an importer, manufacturer, or dealer of firearms, willfully engaged in the business of dealing in firearms, specifically to sell. And they have a list and the dates of the firearms that he allegedly sold. A Smith & Wesson M&P 45, a Bursa 380, a Ghost assault rifle, and a Taurus 9mm.
I don't think that's none of the guns that Bricc Baby
usually
had.
What this looks like is he sold these guns to somebody that's cooperating with the feds. Now, none of these weapons match the serial numbers of the weapons Bricc Baby got caught with. Exactly. So we can take him out of the equation of being the one that told on Bus. Because as the feds like to do, they love to make controlled buys. And the breakdown of these firearms are a little bit too clean.
Yeah, so those other guns that he sold, he probably sold to an informant. It's just like when they did it with Big U, when Big U was collecting extortion payments from an informant. Like victim 1, the main victim in the case, was working with the feds the whole time. So it's like they seems like a common pattern that the feds use.
January 5th, January 12th, February 2nd, and March 10th are documented dates that he sold these firearms to an informant. And again, both of these indictments rely on evidence that ultimately led to an expansion of wiretaps against the Rolling 60s. Now, the feds also allege that both of these dudes have a serious risk that they might flee if they're let out of custody. We saw Trap Kitchen Monty already out, and there's another person a part of this indictment that we gonna touch on that's already out. But there was a request made for pretrial detention due to the safety of regular members in the community being at risk, because these crimes are considered violent crimes. So we may not see Bricc Baby for some time if he doesn't beat this case. Now, as the feds usually go, we seen the wiretaps with Bricc Baby. There's all.
I think Bricc Baby, like, they're saying that he's a high risk individual, so that's why he might flee. But I think there's a kind of way to work around that. Like, I don't know, because he does have a job at No Jumper, so he could be like, no, I have a contract that requires me to be here this many times a month, so I have to be here. I don't know. Maybe they think he'll just say, fuck it, I'm just gonna fucking go to Mexico. Like, I don't think he's moving to Mexico for whatever y'all trying to give him. I don't think, because he just buying guns in the case, and then his other charge was a shooting from years ago. No one really knows how much time they're gonna really try to offer him right now.
Always some confidential informants and some people working with the police when you selling something. So this takes us to the next two defendants that went down in Operation Drawdown: Derek Andre Pollard, aka Grimsky, and Zachary Rodriguez Garcia, aka Zeke. Both of these two dudes are on an indictment together, accused of participating in a conspiracy to distribute meth, another count of distribution of meth, and possession with intent to distribute fentanyl, methamphetamine, and MDMA, another count of possessing a firearm in furtherance of a drug trafficking crime, and lastly, being a felon in possession of a firearm. So what we see
how, like, why did they have to tie this to, like, Big U and Bricc Baby and them if it has nothing to do with them? Like, I don't even think these dudes are from 60s. I think maybe he'll explain.
Here, everybody on this indictment is either members of Neighborhood Rolling 60 or criminal associates of the 60s. That's what the feds is gonna call them. And everybody is seemingly moving on their own program, doing things at different times. But since they all a member of the 60s organization, there was communication linking all 19 of these individuals that we see went down on this case. So in Grimsky and Z's situation, it started with them back in 2020, around September 2nd, and allegedly it continued until February 24, 2021 in Riverside County. Now, on this day, when they became subjects of the federal investigation, September 2nd, it said that Pollard spoke to an individual who he believed was trying to buy some work. It said that Pollard is the one that usually negotiates the sale, and Garcia is the one that goes and drops the work off and kind of builds a rapport with the customer. But with Pollard being on the phone, negotiating this deal with this alleged customer, it's not known to them this is a confidential informant discussing the sale of a pound of meth for $2,700. So Pollard instructed the confidential.
Like, that's gotta be scary, gang. Like, imagine you doing business. Like, at any moment during you doing business, you could be talking to a federal informant. Like, bro, that's gotta be scary as a street dude. As someone in the streets dealing with stuff like that, like, that's probably the biggest fear. Like, imagine you're selling a pound of meth to a informant. Like, you are cooked, my brother. Like, what? Like, god damn.
To meet with Garcia at a predetermined location in Riverside, California. Now, when they met later on that night, Garcia offers the CI 10 pounds of meth at a discounted price, knocking $200 off each P, and saying he can slang it to him for 20.
The federal informant was like, oh yeah, I need 1 pound of meth. Oh wait, actually I need 10. Oh, you can get me a deal on the 10? Oh yeah, I need that. No.
500 if you get 10. But he also offered other types of drugs and firearms that he could sell this confidential informant. Now, I don't know if he knew this dude before, if he dealt with him. It don't seem like it, but that's crazy. And this is the work of some young, unexperienced members. So he went on to sell the confidential informant what he claimed to be a pound of meth, but instead was 44 grams of dimethyl sulfone for $2,700. Now, he ended up whooping the buyer sold him some bunk for $2,700, but that seemingly doesn't even matter to the feds, man, that it wasn't even a controlled substance. Now, after Garcia gave him that work,
and I'm not gonna lie, they do that with robberies too. Like if you rob someone with a BB gun or if you rob someone with a fake gun, they're gonna charge you as if you robbed that person with a deadly weapon, as if it was a real gun. I could see them doing the same thing. If you sell somebody fake drugs, they just charge you as if it's real drugs. That's crazy as fuck, though.
Work. Pollard tries to shake the confidential informant down for $100 for brokering the sale. And of course, he met with the confidential informant and got his little $100. So they sold dude some bunk and then took $100 for brokering the deal on top of that. They was playing some shady games. But about 2 weeks later, September 17th, Pollard's back on his phone talking to another confidential informant, discussing another sale of a pound of meth, negotiating another $2,700 price and a $100 middleman fee. This time, Pollard is
Hold
the one
on,
that met
wait a second.
with the CI.
I know they can't be that crazy. You sold somebody fake meth. It's not real. And you don't get confused. You don't get a little bit suspicious when they come back looking for more fake meth. Some people just be too money hungry, bro. And they don't be thinking. They just need the money instantly.
And they sell him some bunk again, 446 grams, and they short of the methyl sulfone. So the feds, after this, they kick back and they cool on these dudes.
Maybe the menthol sulfone looks like meth and like maybe it feels like meth. I don't know about hard drugs. But if the menthol sulfone doesn't get you high and dude is just selling him some fake ass shit, it's like, how do you not get suspicious when the dude comes back for more and you sold him some obviously fake shit? Like,
Dudes for 3 months. They circle back around December 15th, 2020, hit him up again for another pound. Pollard talking on the phone again, but using quote unquote coded language. They negotiate a price, and this time Garcia meets with the confidential informant and gives him a short P, 438 grams of pure methamphetamine for $3,000 this time. That third time was a charm. Now, in between that 3-month cool down period,
so they sold him fake shit 3 times, and then the 4th time or the 3rd time they sell him real meth this time. Like,
on October 14th, 2020, again still in Riverside County, Grimsky is said to have knowingly possessed a Glock 40. He was already a felon, so now he's a felon in possession of a firearm. That's where that count comes from that was alleged at the top of the indictment. It said that in Arizona, he had a solicitation to commit forgery back in 2018. Now, the indictment doesn't necessarily say how they know he got caught with it, but we know Grimsky been on the phone this whole time. And we know that wiretap has been popping. Now, a couple months after they made that final sale of actual meth to the CI, it said that in February 2021, they were in possession of a key of fentanyl. And they also had another 189 grams of meth and some MDMA with them as well. Now, the key thing is with this indictment kind of being bland, this is how confidential informants and snitches fill in the blanks. When they're not necessarily saying they were stopped with this work, they got caught with it, they was arrested with it, either they was talking on these wiretaps, saying how much work they got, or somebody's telling. And this is how these 2 dudes got their faces on this Operation Drawdown board, due to their connection with the 60s. Now, the next person that's also in custody on this indictment is...
But I don't get, he never explained what was their real connection to the 60s. Because if both of them are not from the 60s, what was their connection to the 60s? It was only them 2 and a federal informant.
Joshua Hala. Now, he seems to be one of these criminal associates of the 60s that I spoke on. They're not putting him down as a full-fledged member. But he also went down for the same thing as Grimsky and Zeke. Distribution of methamphetamine, carrying a firearm during and in relation to, and possessing a firearm in furtherance of a drug trafficking crime. I think the only thing working for this dude is he wasn't a felon in possession of a gun. But on March 11, 2021, they got him presumably on wiretap, knowingly and intentionally distributing at least 50 grams, which came out to be 423 grams of meth. Now, the indictment doesn't allege that he was dealing with a confidential informant or a confidential witness in this case. So again, I have to stress, that the wiretap and the hundreds of hours of conversations that they have is going to play a pivotal role in pushing these guys towards a plea deal when they see exactly how much evidence they have against them. April 1st, 2021 looked just like March 11, 2021, where they got this dude selling 435 grams of methamphetamine. Both of those situations were in LA County. And on the April 1st incident, it's alleged that he possessed a firearm while he was selling that work to somebody. They have him again on April 27th, selling 443 grams.
This is just straight informant information, because they don't, it's not like they're saying that he was red-handed. Like, this is just him like selling shit to an informant or being around an informant when selling it. Like,
so as you can see, they've really been building this case for a long time. Again, they started watching Big U February of 2021, but they already had these wiretaps set up on these dudes back in 2020. And I'm gonna say, if Big U didn't allegedly kill Rayshawn Williams, this would be a pretty uneventful indictment for the feds. They'd have Bricc, baby, but it wouldn't be this big. Now, the next person that went down on this case was Ron Antoine Britton, aka Ronnie Mac. The feds are alleging that he was possessing with intent to distribute cocaine. And like many other people in this indictment, he was in possession of a firearm, in furtherance of a drug trafficking crime, and also a felon in possession of a firearm and ammunition. So we have Ronnie Mac on January 31st, 2024, allegedly intentionally possessing with the intent to distribute cocaine. Now, it doesn't say he sold it to anybody, so more than likely, he was caught with it. And he was probably somebody that also participated in conversations on the wiretap, so they glued him into this federal indictment. But even if he wasn't, being a member of the 60s and being a felon in possession of this firearm, they was gonna throw him in there anyway, because they caught him with the gun when they caught him with the powder. Now, he had multiple firearms. He had a Glock 26 and another Ruger 9mm when he went down. Now, just like Bricc, baby, they charging him with the ammunition as well. He had over 30 rounds of 9mm ammo while being a felon. Now, this dude right here, this is a fraudulent dude right here. I don't know the details of this situation, but Ronnie Mac was previously convicted of having sexual intercourse with a minor and 2 counts of false imprisonment, as well as an attempted possession of a controlled substance. I don't know what an attempt in the possession is, you know what I'm saying? But the minor charge, what was he even doing in this mix anyway? Maybe that's why he's on an indictment on his own. But yeah, Ronnie Mac on some foul shit. Now, the next 2 dudes that we saw also go down on this indictment are Denavian Hughes and Lamont Green. Now, both of them had the same charge, but they are charged separately on their own individual indictments. And that charge is the same as probably 80% of everybody that was outside of the RICO, a felon in possession of a firearm and ammunition. Now, Denavian Hughes was found to have 2 9mm pistols and 20 rounds of 9mm ammunition on May 9th, 2023. Now, it's alleged that he knowingly possessed these firearms, despite the fact of previously being convicted of forgery in 2001, possession with intent to distribute a controlled substance in 2008, and the unauthorized use of personal identifying information in 2008. And on January 31st, 2024, Lamont Green was in possession of a .38 revolver, and for some reason he had hundreds of rounds of different types of ammunition, not just the .38.
Damn.
But he had previously been convicted of possession of a controlled substance in 95, second-degree burglary in 97, and assault with a semi-automatic firearm in 2000.
Yo, how are they bringing up charges on this dude from literally 20 years ago, like 30 years ago? That's crazy. I'll be mad as fuck if I did some crimes 30 years ago and they try to charge me with it today. Like, come on now, bro. Like,
so he's seemingly been out of trouble for the last 25 years, but they got him going down for affecting interstate and foreign commerce.
I mean, like, he already did time for it too. Like,
now, there is an individual on this case, Tion Devon Jones, aka Blueface, who seemingly has only went down for a violation based on a federal charge that he caught in 2009 on a conspiracy to distribute a controlled substance and possession with intent to distribute methamphetamine. Now, he also had a violation in 2019.
Damn, I ain't know the 6 O's was like, they all selling meth or what? Like, what's going on?
So the details surrounding his current situation and being a part of Operation Drawdown is somewhat mysterious at this moment. But 2 dudes on this case are 2 people that I would put my money on that are gonna end up snitching. We got the starter, everybody.
Wait,
I
who?
would put my money. 2 dudes on this case are 2 people that I would put my money on that are gonna end up snitching. We got the starter everybody's been paying attention to, Fuck Juan, and Brian Perez.
Fucking what? His name is Fuck King Heinha. Heinha. Fucking Heinha. And then Brian Perez Mejia.
Mejia. Those 2 dudes now, look, I don't want to necessarily put a jacket on nobody, but everybody else other than Jaquan Lee Smith,
Fucking Heinha. That's the dude from New Leaf Clothing too. Like, if y'all remember, like I was saying in my first stream, he owns a clothing store on New Leaf Clothing. Now my homies actually passed by there and they said he's out. They said that this dude is free, the Asian dude, and they said he was just chilling in the store like nothing happened. Now they didn't mention like the whole thing to him, but this guy is saying he believes that this dude is a snitch. But I'm like, I don't even know what his charges are or his role is in the indictment. When I looked at him up, I couldn't find his indictment. I found everybody else's indictment. Remember, I found Bricc Baby's indictment before everybody. Like, everybody was acting like it wasn't public, but it was public. I found it like the first day that he got arrested. And I couldn't find this dude's indictment, which is weird.
AJ has some paperwork. Now, I don't know where Fuck Juan's paperwork is or Brian Mejia, but it's something about these 2 dudes that's rubbing me the wrong way, man.
That's what I'm saying.
They're not fitting in. So
That's
I
right.
wouldn't be surprised if these 2 dudes, if anybody takes this to trial, you may see one or both of these individuals. I'm going to just put my money on that, you know. But Jaquan Lee Smith, you know, he's also...
I want to say something about the New Leaf Clothing guy, but I'm going to keep it to myself. Yeah, I'm going to keep the No Leaf Clothing info to myself. That would be crazy if I spoke on
a mysterious character in this situation. I'm not going to say anybody is snitching other than the confidential informants that we know exist without name right now. But Jaquan Smith is also somebody that's mysterious in this case, man. But, you know, we have to break down everybody else that was a part of this indictment because, like I said, from the outside looking in, it looks like everybody's tied to Big U Enterprises, and that's not the case. Everybody has a common denominator in them neighborhood rolling 60s, man. But
yeah, that is kind of crazy. It's like a lot of people with separate charges, separate dealings. They're doing different crimes, not really connected. But they're trying to make it seem like it's all connected to Big U, and it's really not. Now, I seen Play and Shoot.